A ministry moment and a mission witness about the recent mission that Donnie and Susan Lambert took to Cuba late in the fall of 2024. And so Donnie's here to share a little glimpse of that experience with us today. So welcome, Donnie.
Good morning. Sue put this together, so I'm going to kind of read through the script. It'll sound like that. So I won't be meandering as I'm supposed to. She's off in Texas still with her mom. Her mom got out of the hospital, but she still needs a little help, so she's taking care of things. I'll pray for her. Okay, so this was our trip. We went to Holguin, which is kind of to the east side of Cuba. Flew straight into there. Instead, this time we didn't have to travel through Havana. But first thing is I want to thank everybody for all your support for the mission. And you can see here, we gathered 120 pounds of supplies that you donated, school supplies and other things, and $2,200 that went to the materials and mission work and relief in Guantanamo from the hurricane. So basics that they needed, clothing, flashlights, kitchen utensils, chapstick, socks, and relief over in Guantanamo area. So this was a different trip for us from other trips in the past. It was less work intensive and a lot more fellowship. We visited 7 churches while we were there and helped host a women's activity one day and hosted a youth event where we had 40 youth show up. We bagged 80 bags of food and rice to distribute at the women's event there at the church, and attended 6 services that were crowded and very enthusiastic. There's a lot of passion in the Cuban church. So next. Okay. So the main intent we were working on was a new roof on this church cathedral. You can see here the old roof is the wooden roof, and in between where they've poured the concrete and removed the wood, and it's unfinished, and then in the far off you see the finished section of the roof. So that's the goal, is to get this whole cathedral to that new condition where it's watertight and sealed and safe and good for the long term. Next. So they don't do things the same in Cuba as they do here. This is where we were moving the tiles. Some of the locals took the tiles off the roof and passed them down in bags. You can see some of the old bags we used until there were too big of holes for the tiles to almost fall out. And we hauled and stacked them, the full tiles in one place and the others in another. And you can see it was a good dirty day. And the cement mixer that we used. So go to the next one. So you can see the cement mixer here. We had to move it from one side to the other, and you notice there's no wheels on the cement mixer, because if they leave wheels on it, somebody might steal it. So they had spilled concrete all over the hub and the jack stand, and so we had to chip it out before we could move it to the other side. Because they had run out of money before we got there, the materials weren't readily available to be able to work on the new roof, so we did some other prep work. One of the things we did was put electric, not so much anymore, Mustang seats, some nice new Mustang seats in the pastor's car that was an old Peugeot 405, which was an interesting, doesn't just go right in there. But they had some help, and we got that done for him, and then realized they had to push start the car when he wanted to take a test drive. So we checked the battery and starter system and put a new battery in it. Well, a battery he had acquired, with a 2x6 under it to make it fit, because it wasn't the same size, but you do what you have to in Cuba. And bolted the seats down. They had sheet metal screws in the old seats, and it would wobble, and so he felt a whole lot better. And just recently we heard that Radel, the pastor, has been named the DS, so he'll have to be traveling a lot, so he feels a lot better about having a car he can trust more to be able to do that. Okay? So in order to make the pour on the roof, once you take the tiles off, the concrete's very heavy, and when you pour it, it doesn't have strength. So a lot of this wood is beams, pieces that were taken out of the roof that had already been removed. We helped put in columns to support where the next pour would be, where we'd taken the tiles down. So they put a set of columns in there to help hold it up until it cures. So other things we did while we were there, sorted beans, peeled garlic, cooked gumbo, cleaned fans, folded napkins, and all sorts of things. They really enjoyed cooking. We cooked gumbo for them. So, as we mentioned in our September ministry moment, the Cuban economy is really weak and struggling right now. So there was a lot of question of why spend dollars on the building when there are people with a lot of needs. And the pastor addressed this question on Sunday service when they blessed the ceiling fans, tools, lights, and items we brought to the church. The church is their center for their community. They are really a church-based community. And they're not allowed to have church group events in the square or outside in public spaces. And he read a scripture from Nehemiah. During the time of the rebuild of the temple, Nehemiah was overseeing the work when some of the Jewish enemies saw the progress of the work, and they called Nehemiah to come and meet them with intent to do harm. Nehemiah refused, saying, "I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down." And the pastor unveiled this banner in the sanctuary in one of the Sunday morning meetings when we were there. And said, the congregation there is doing a great work that will help the church grow and provide a place for the church community to gather all week long to worship, study, socialize, get assistance, and many other activities. So this is a lot of what the church means to them and what's useful there. This is the youth activity we hosted. They really had a great time. We did, a lot of activities and games, and then watched the movie. And fed them, had a good evening event with the youth. Watched the movie I Can Only Imagine, which was popular. So this is the worship. The worship is full of people and passion in Cuba, and the church is growing there. You can see how full the sanctuary is. They put a lot of energy into the service, into the music. This is, we went to several of the old churches that had been visited in the past by VIM teams. Several of our team members had been many, many years. And the churches where they worked 7-8 years ago are still growing and doing well. And they all have a lot of youth involvement in the music ministries, you can see there. And they are always willing to share anything and everything. So this is the group we took with us, limited to 12 people by the Cuban regulations, and members from St. John's, from St. Mark's, from several churches in the area, and Mary Ellen Mulliken, who comes. She was Jerry Johnston's sister. And this is the work team by the end of the week. You can see the engagement we had with the center staff that helped us all through the week, and then the community there that also came to support. So the next one. So since we've gone back and they were able to acquire the materials, the steel is hard to come by in Cuba, and you have to wait on it sometimes. So this is all the rebar that they put. These were the area where we took the tiles off the ceiling, off the roof. They have all the rebar and have poured the concrete on this new section of the church. So we left them enough money to make most of the building finished. So they've proceeded to do that. It was a really good trip. We were blessed by a lot of the engagement with the people there, and they were greatly appreciative of the help that you sent with us, and we'll carry on. So we get updates from them from time to time on the community and their growth and their progress. And, although economically they're in a real struggle, they're doing well. They have a very strong knit community there. So, thanks.